Hello, everyone. Let's make a start. My name is Dr. Anand, and I'm a consultant psychiatrist working in the NHS more than 20 years. And we have been doing teaching for year 12 and year 13 students over the last 5 to 6 years. And today we have a very interesting session on a topic which is more important for students over the coming next few weeks: writing a personal statement, and also how you are going to choose your 4 medical universities. Today, we have an interesting array of speakers who are quite experienced as well as successful medical students. So we have 4 presentations today, followed by question and answer session. Kindly mute your microphone, but you will have the opportunity to ask any questions by posting your query in the chat box, and we will try to answer them at the end. If you need any further one-to-one sessions, we can arrange it following the event in the next few days. So with that, let's make a start. And I'm going to invite our first speaker, or Abhishek Subramanian, who is quite known to most of you. He has been with us over the last few years in teaching and coaching. He's quite popular and has quite an experience in helping people with personal statements. He has also written a chapter in our book, which is available on Amazon. The link we will post it in the chat box. So with that, I welcome Abhi. Over to you, Abhi.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Abhi, and I'm a fourth-year medical student. And first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming here today, even though, the weather's absolutely glorious outside. So I've got a few slides to present to you about how to write your personal statement and how you can make it the best version possible for you. So I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully you all can see my screen. So this presentation is about your personal statement. So a little about me. I'm a medical student in the southwest of England, and I'm surrounded by beautiful coastlines. I have a passion for teaching, and over the last few years, I've mentored over 50 applicants, probably many more than that, probably lost track. So the objectives of this presentation is I'd like you all to understand the components of a strong medical personal statement. I'll discuss a bit about the tips and strategies for effective writing, and we'll reflect a little bit on the do's and the don'ts. And hopefully, if I've delivered this right, you'll feel a bit more prepared. So why is the personal statement important in the application process in the UK? So the personal statement is your first opportunity to demonstrate to the admissions team, why are you passionate about medicine? This is an opportunity to show to them, you're not just a set of good grades, but you actually have innate passion to study medicine, and you have partaken in many different wonderful activities. So what is a medical personal statement? So it's a document typically written as part of the application process for medical schools. You don't just write a personal statement for medicine, it's there for other healthcare programs. So your personal statement should also be slightly relevant to your 5th choice as well, because obviously you do apply to one choice, which is not medicine. And it serves as an opportunity to show off your qualifications. So why do you think you're qualified from a non-academic point of view, your motivation, and why you're actually suitable for a career in medicine. Why is this important? So medical schools vary in their approach in how they look at the personal statements. Some give it a lot of consideration, some use it as tiebreakers, and some give it a little considerations. Additionally, some medical schools will actually use the personal statement for the foundation of their interview questions, or they may actually discuss this personal statement with you. So you have to ensure that your personal statement is well prepared and that you can actually expand upon it in your interview. I've known many cases where people have written things in the personal statement. For example, they've read a book, but when questioned upon it in an interview, they either don't remember or they might have not read it fully at all. So it's very, very important that you can actually evidence and justify the things you've written in your personal statement. So there's no way of actually telling which schools and which medical schools use the personal statement and to what degree of importance they hold it to. So it's better to be safe, right? So what are your components of a strong personal statement? I suggest to break it down into these 5 steps and start writing a few sentences first in these categories. So you have an introduction, where you'd write about your motivation and inspiration, which would lead to your motivation and passion. And thirdly, you write about the academic achievements and relevant experiences. Maybe not to focus on your academic achievements as much, but any extra supracurricular academic achievements. For example, if you've gone to a biology event, a science event, maths Olympiad, things like that. And you might want to talk a little about your extracurricular activities and then round it off with a conclusion. So tips for writing, and I can't emphasize this enough. If you plan, I actually think you will get better results. So start early and plan. So don't delay it by thinking, I don't know how to write it. Put pen to paper, or should I say, start writing on your keyboard and actually make a start. Once you've written, be concise and focused. Lots of people, add fluffy languages, and they don't realize they can make the same point, but in a concise manner. Show, don't tell. So what do I mean by show and not telling? Showing means that you're not just listing, but you're actually reflecting upon what you've done. Finally, I can't emphasize this enough. Please proofread and edit. There's nothing worse than a personal statement which shows laziness of you couldn't have simply put it through a spell checker or softwares like Grammarly just to edit and get the grammar correct. Do's and don'ts. Do be honest, do showcase your uniqueness, and do seek feedback. This is really your opportunity to shine. Please don't plagiarize, because universities do have ways of checking. They have a software to check it, and don't exaggerate. There's a difference between talking about what you did and highlighting your learning points and actually exaggerating. So I'd like to show you a sample 1 and a sample 2. I'll read through both samples of this paragraph, and then we can discuss which sample is better and why. So sample 1 paragraph. In my personal statement, I want to talk about my interest in medicine and how I've always wanted to become a doctor. I think being a doctor is a good profession, and I like helping people. I did some volunteer work at a hospital, and it was kind of interesting. I guess I also did well in my science class in high school, so I think I can handle medical school. Overall, I hope this personal statement is good enough to get into medical school. That's sample 1. Sample 2. My passion for medicine has been a driving force throughout my life, igniting a deep-seated desire to become a doctor. This aspiration stems from my unwavering belief in the profound impact doctors have on individuals and communities. My volunteer experience at a hospital provided me first-hand insight into the challenges and rewards of healthcare, reaffirming my commitment to this path. Excelling in my high school science courses not only fortified my foundation knowledge, but also bolstered my confidence in my ability to excel in the rigorous environment of medical school. I'm eager to embark on this journey and contribute to the field of medicine with enthusiasm and dedication. So these are 2 different paragraphs I wrote. So I think it's safe to say that sample 2 is probably much better. And the reason it's better, it's not only stated, but it's reflected. And as well as reflecting, it is linked what you have learned to medicine and healthcare as a profession. So the main thing I'd like you to take away from what I've said so far is please reflect on what you say and link it to medicine and talk about why you think what you've seen, what you've done, and what you've experienced will make you a better doctor, and why do you think medicine is the right profession for you. That's what makes a strong personal statement. So common mistakes to avoid, please don't be vague. Try not to talk about grades because you've got your UCAS forms and predictions and your references for that. Don't use cliches. Please don't exaggerate. Don't be not reflective. Reflect as much as possible. Don't just say all the good things. Don't ignore your weakness. Admitting your weakness is a sign of strength, okay? By admitting your weakness, it shows, you've reflected, and it also shows, okay, how you're going to improve. And please seek feedback. But don't try and seek feedback from a lot of people because you might get confused. Maybe a handful of people, as well as your parents, seek some feedback and try to make some improvements. How to avoid mistakes. Hopefully you won't make these mistakes after this presentation, but if you'd like any more feedback or help, please contact the team for more information. Take time and have a plan. If you take time, you will get the best possible outcome you can. How do universities use the personal statement? Some don't use it at all. Some use it, but don't mark it. Some use it as a tiebreaker, and some universities use it to shortlist interviews, and some actually use it during interviews. There's no real way to say which universities use it definitely and under what category, but these are the different ways universities can use your personal statement. So thank you so much for listening, and hopefully most of you are awake, and I hope you're all successful in applying to medical school and that this presentation has made it a little bit easier for you in writing your personal statement.
Thank you, Abhi. That was a very crisp and quick whistle-stop tour of what is really required. Can I ask people to post their queries in the chat box, and we will try to answer at the end. Abhi will also be available at the end to answer any individual queries. So over to our next speaker is Dr. Senthil Kumar. Dr. Senthil Kumar has been again with us over the last few years, and he has a passion for teaching. He is an experienced senior psychiatrist working in the NHS in Derby. He was shortlisted for the Psychiatrist of the Year in 2018 by the Royal College of Psychiatrists. He is interested in teaching and is a clinical supervisor and coaches trainees in psychiatrist. He also helps A-level and college students with work placements in psychiatry. Over to you, Senthil.
Okay. Thank you, Errol, for the introduction. Can you hear? Yeah? Okay. So it's almost similar to what Abhi was saying, but with mild differences, because there's only so much you can do with the personal statement. So, so the personal statements, like Abhi said, some universities do score it and use it to differentiate, but also some universities, what happens is they use the personal statement in the end to differentiate between candidates before they give it the offer. Some universities, what they do is before they offer the place for the medical school, they read the personal statement. So,
okay.
and
am I muted?
Sorry? Okay. And certain universities, they will use it in the interview. So it is very, very important that you take the utmost importance in doing the personal statement. Because if you put something like certain universities, if you put that you had work experience with this particular place, they will ask for the reference. So you need to be mindful than what you say in your personal statement. And there are certain practical issues which is available in the UCAS website, but let me go through it with you all. So the personal statement is 4,000 characters. That also includes any space, any comma, if you go to the next paragraph, and it's not words. So word count will be around 400, 500, but it's 4,000 characters or 47 lines, whichever comes first. So it's better you do your personal statement in a Word document before you copy and paste it into the UCAS website. Once you put it in the UCAS website, anything that's formatted like bold or italics or underline, you can't do that. It will only give just the words. So you need to be very, very mindful in when you're entering first in the Word document. And in the UCAS, when you enter, there is no inbuilt spelling or grammar checking option. So you have to check the spellings and grammars even before you copy into the UCAS portal. And remember, the character counts could be different from the word count. But what happens is once you reach 4,000 characters, the UCAS will take out the rest of the statement. Then you need to be able to amend the statement in a way that whatever you have entered is all there. So the personal statement, what we expect is how it reflects the General Medical Council's good medical practice. So there are 4 domains of good medical practice. So in any work experience or anything that you're entering, what have you gained from it rather than what you did? That's the important thing. How you reflected, what knowledge you have gained, or what skills you have gained. I will discuss about some personal statement which I've come across, which has good reflection in the end of after this presentation, and what skills you have, and from a performance perspective, how you will be extrapolating your work experience to when you become a doctor. And the second domain in GMC is the safety and quality of a doctor's practice. The third domain is communication, partnership, and teamwork. And the fourth domain is maintaining trust, which means you treat everyone with respect and dignity, and you have good integrity. And also remember, it might come in the MMI interviews or panel interviews, because the GMC have recently updated the good medical practice, which is going to come into effect early next year. It might be useful to have a look at what are the additional things that has been added to the GMC good medical practice. So coming to the do's, remember, you can choose 4 for 1, like medicine, you can have 4 options, but you also have the 5th option. So if you do 4 options of medicine and the 5th option of engineering, the personal statement will not reflect your 5th option. So just be mindful. So it may be helpful to have the 5th option almost similar to anything related to medicine or field where the care of people is involved. You have to plan and take time to prepare, because writing a personal statement takes longer than you think. I've known candidates who have gone through 15, 20, 25 drafts. I have also gone through candidates who done really well with the 5th or 10th draft. So you need to do more and more and take time to prepare, because this is your first thing that you're going to show to the universities why they need to offer you the place. And write positively. And even if you have something negative, it doesn't matter what you have learned from the experience. And then the most important thing is there is no point in using fantastic this English, that English. It has to be plain and correct English. That's a very important thing, because in the good old past, when we used to shortlist, For example, I think 3-4 years ago, for one psychologist post, we had 50 plus applications in our trust. The first thing you do is, if somebody is grammatically incorrect, we will discard those applications, because what it means is you have not taken the effort to write plain or correct English. How good you will be in your subject. That's what we would assume. So just be mindful in how you write. So, and also, if the personal statement is not well written, it may look like it's rushed and it's done at the last minute with no major attention details. That also might indicate, because being a doctor is such a onerous task certain times when you're on call, or so these are the things that might indicate how you are in planning what you're going to do for future. So just do not give the appearance that what you have done is very rushed. So just continue. And in the work experience, there's no point in listing, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. What you have gained and what you have learned from it and how you have reflected on it according to the GMC Good Medical Practice. And that's what you need to enter it in the personal statement. It will be helpful to give some evidence with examples, but remember, you only have 4,000 characters. But if you can give some evidence with examples, that will be it will look much better. So like Abby said, you have to draft, redraft, and redraft, proofread, give it to 2 or 3 or 4 people. Most importantly, give it to your English teacher and ask him or her to have a look at it. Give it to your parents. You go through it because that's very, very important. And so in the personal statement, you always start with why you want to become a doctor. Then you write about your work experience, and then you end with your career aspirations. Okay, some other don'ts. Like I said, please don't write less. I have done this. I went to this home experience. I went to this care home. But you have to write what you learned and how you're going to apply it to in your thing as a doctor. And don't write definitions, what a doctor means. That's not, because the universities you're applying, they know what is the definition of a doctor and what a doctor is going to do. So don't waste your characters in writing the definition of a doctor. You have to sell yourself. You have to be like a good salesman or saleswoman. Please don't lie or borrow ideas or copy and paste, because every university have anti-plagiarism software. And there is a particular cutoff. If it comes as that you have used someone's over this particular cutoff, you will be summarily rejected. So please be original. And even if you can't fill the 4,000 characters, it doesn't matter. But if you borrow ideas or copy and paste from someone else's personal statement, there is a very big chance you might be rejected. And like we discussed before, check and recheck about spelling and grammatical mistakes. That's very important. And please don't leave it to the last minute. So always try to submit 24 hours prior to the last date of submitting the personal statement. Okay, so now I'm going to share various personal statements which have come across, and I'm going to read. Okay, so if you look at the first paragraph, this is followed the A-level student worked in a care home. So volunteering week, and also the highlighted things in the yellow is some of the good medical practice domains. So volunteering weekly at a care home showed me the value of patient interaction. Many of the patients have dementia, so I learned to ask open-ended questions to stimulate them whilst remaining respectful, that is domain 4, and of GMC good medical practice, and understanding that their responses may be slow. I was also involved in diffusing an argument between 2 residents, in which I diverted their attention by changing the subject in an attempt to calm them down before seeking help. Afterwards, I discussed other methods of diffusing conflict with the care staff to apply in future, because professional conflicts between staff or conflict with the patient is quite not common, can happen when you do practice. So this is the way you show that you have come across conflict and you have worked on how to diffuse a conflict. And the other one is on a home visit to an elderly patient with history of stroke and difficulty in communicating. I assisted in a health check. After excluding other causes, it was concluded to be a heart problem. This is what we call as going through differential diagnosis. So this demonstrated the problem-solving skills doctors must have in order to efficiently treat patients. The GP also described the challenge of having time constraint during appointments with the need to rely on the multidisciplinary team. So then let's go to the next one. So whilst gaining work experience at a drug alcohol clinic, I observed a vulnerable young adult patient addicted to drugs due to parental influence. The consultant ensured that the problem was dealt with discreetly and that the parents were not informed to maintain confidentiality because this is a young adult. I was also introduced to harm minimization. So if you write this in personal statement, some universities might ask when you discuss the personal statement, what do you mean by harm minimization? So you should have been able to just tell some basic bits about what is harm minimization in drug and alcohol. So when you are writing anything, there's a chance that they may ask. So just be very, very mindful. And also, hello? Okay. In this case, injecting paraphernalia to reduce the risks of blood-borne viruses, as some may be unable to stop taking drugs due to various psychosocial factors. To me, this showed the need to identify the appropriate balance between beneficence and non-maleficence. So you are talking some of the ethical principles. And this is the final 2 paragraphs. So my involvement in the multidisciplinary team meeting showed me the value of various professional roles in the delivery of care. All the key decisions were made by the doctor in the meeting, whilst also considering everyone's views, showing me the tough choices they make and demonstrating their leadership. And the other one is the consultant also described the stressful nature of the job and the need for a way to relax. Being involved in music and sports enables me to de-stress. So if you're not involved in music or sports, you must be doing something to relax yourself. Please quote that. So participating in the school senior orchestra, DFE, bronze, silver, and young enterprise allowed me to build teamwork skills. So the next one is like winning the Royal Opera House National Composition Competition in year 10. Further developed my creativity and time management. I had to work within that deadline. Gaining a black belt in Taekwondo when I was 13 is one of my proudest achievements and taught me discipline and responsibility whilst teaching students younger and older than me. Because as a doctor, when you go higher up in your career in management, sometimes you may be managing doctors who are 10, 15, 20 years senior to you. So you are showing that even at an young age, you are able to teach students older than you. So organizing school events like debating and group verse speaking further improve my confidence, interpersonal skills, and my ability to lead. I will stop now, and any questions that you have, we will always address at the end, and good luck.
Thank you, Senthil, for sharing your valuable experience. You are quite experienced both clinically and in teaching. Thank you very much. If people have any questions specific to Dr. Senthil Kumar or any of the content, please post it in the chat box. So with that, we move on to our third speaker, Dr. Varadarajan Kalidasan. We are very, very thankful and pleased to have him at our meeting today, despite his busy schedule. He's a senior pediatric surgeon and also a director of medical education at Brighton. He's been involved in various roles in the Brighton and Sussex Medical School, and today he's going to share his valuable advice on personal statements. Over to you, Kali. If you can unmute and then speak. Thank you.
Thanks, Harold. And I think Priya is going to help sharing the screen. So, yeah, I'm very happy to be here this evening and share some views on the personal statement. And at the outset, I must say that Abhi and Dr. Senthil have really covered the various aspects very, very well. So some of this will be inevitably repetitive, but that's fine because it reinforces the importance of certain aspects of the personal statement. And the way I look at the personal statement is that it's like the, when you go to a restaurant, it's like the initial few courses that you have before, you have the main course. And so it's very, very important. It sets the tone for what's going to happen next. Can I have the next slide, please? So, and I think I've already been introduced, and I continue to do a lot of educational work for postgraduates. And I've also now been doing online teaching for undergraduates who have been displaced from the Ukraine, Sudan, and Afghanistan, and so on. So we have a very significant commitment to teaching medical students. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the statement, we got to be very clear. The university wants to know you as a person, because if you remove the personal statement from the whole application process, you realize that there's no way that a university will have any idea about what sort of person you are, why do you want to do medicine, and whether you have an all-round capability, etc. Because they'll be then left with just your GCSE grades and your predicted grades and so on. So the personal statement is like a window into the way you think, the way you're prepared yourself in trying to get into medicine. And one of the things that the universities really want to understand is, yes, your motivation. They also want to know whether you understand what it means to be a doctor. So, for example, it's not just a 5-year course, because when you are a 16-year-old, often your mind thinks of it as, yes, I'm going to do a 5-year or 6-year course, but actually that's only the beginning. So what the university is trying to get from you is, have you understood the complexity of even the training program that you're going to have after you finish your undergraduate course? And this is where things like work experience comes in. So, and also they want to understand your personality, what type of person you are. Next slide, please. And so what you're trying to say to the university is, why should you be the one where they should first of all interview, or whatever process they follow, and secondly, offer you a place to do medicine? Because why are you the right choice for that particular university? And here it's a very tricky thing, because you will be choosing different types of universities, and some of them may be highly academic, some of them may have different other ways of education. So I think when you write a personal statement, it has to be balanced. You do not want to present yourself as a prospective researcher who's going to be mainly focused on academic work in a very high-flying environment, because that will immediately put off the other 2 or 3 universities you'll be looking at. So try to have a balanced approach where you present your academic interests, because of course you need to show that you have a level of academic ability, which is of course obvious from the marks you're going to get in your A level exams. The next thing is avoid cliche, because people get fed up of reading similar personal statements. They need not be plagiarized at all, but they're very similar. For example, at one point in time, every personal statement, maybe an exaggeration, but you know what I mean, that I came across had something like, I read The Emperor of All Maladies. Fine. So just saying that means nothing. So what you'll have to do is say, when you read a book or when you read an article which has impressed you, what exactly you took away from that. Now, as Dr. Sendhil pointed out, the problem you have is you got only 4,000 characters. So you'll have to somehow distill this reflection on a book that you've read or an experience that you have had in those 4,000 characters. And remember, it's your personal statement. It is not your parents. It's not your friends. It's not even the person who is going to look at it and give you ideas. So you have to be comfortable with what you've written in the end. You should definitely take help from people. And yes, you'll have to write and rewrite and, redo things. But at the end, when you submit it, you should be able to say, this is my personal statement. I can stand by it. because as people have pointed out, in many universities, they will have the opportunity to question you on your personal statement. And personally, when I have interviewed, one of the things that I've always done was, if there is something in the personal statement that stands out, either because it is something really exciting, I always ask about it. So you must know your personal statement very, very well. And I think Abby pointed that out at the beginning. You have to be able to explain certain things you have written, and again, expand on certain reflections. So if you have put in, a reflection very succinctly and very briefly because of your 4,000 word limit, a good interviewer will ask you about it, and then you can expand on it. So the day before you go for your interview or MMI or whatever process is being followed, go through your personal statement and try to think of it as, if I am reading this as the person interviewing me, what would I be asking them? So put yourself on the other side of the table, as it were. So go through that personal statement and ask yourself what can be asked. And that's a very good way of doing that. Next slide, please. So that's exactly what I was saying. Now, the reflections and learning is very, very important. So I'll give you one example from, this is a real life example. There was a student who had applied and did not get into medicine on a particular year, and then reapplied and was shortlisted for interview to our medical school here in Brighton. And one of the things he had done during that period, when he was, during the year, when he didn't do medicine, he didn't join any other course, actually. He was doing lots of things. And he was volunteering in Oxfam or some such similar charity shops. So I asked him this question: what was the main thing you learned during the time you volunteered? And he gave me a really interesting answer. And in fact, I didn't know this, and many people, you guys might be aware of it. So if you get convicted for some minor offense, you are given community service. And one of the things you can do is go and work in a charity shop and similar places to discharge your community service. So he said when he was in Oxfam, he came across one or two people who had been convicted for things like shoplifting, and they were doing their community service there. And he said that he was so impressed that these people were actually quite good people who had made a silly mistake due to their circumstances. So his idea of sort of people who had been convicted changed. He realized that a good person could make an error, but then, they are not really bad people. Now, this is an interesting reflection from an 18 or 19-year-old. So it sounds quite impressive when you listen to it in an interview. So I think this is why your personal statement, you got to consider various aspects of it. But the final outcome, you must remember, the personal statement may actually contribute not too much. And it may vary from university to university, as you've heard. Because at the end of the day, once you've had the interview, you have had your predicted grades, and you are thinking, they are going to make you an offer. The actual personal statement might be a tiebreaker and nothing more than that, because they might say, okay, we've got 300 places, we are going to make 400 offers. Now there are 450 people who are very similar. So when you come to that last 50, they might want to look at the personal statement to determine who that person is. And this is why I right at the beginning, I said, you got to convince the university why it should be you. Next slide, please. We have come to the end. So, so as you can see, the personal statement is, is an important part of the process, but it's not the be all and end all. But you got to get it right. And I can only repeat what they've already said. Don't start doing it late. Take your time. You'll have to redo it. Get it checked by a few people, not too many. As they say, too many cooks will spoil the broth. And be happy when you submit it, that you can stand by what you have submitted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kali. That was quite an experience listening to you. We have a full house today, and I'm really amazed at the wealth of knowledge that's been shared today. Even though all this information might be available to you all, nothing like hearing firsthand directly from experienced people and successful medical students. Thank you very much. And Kali will be here until half 7 to answer any queries at the end. Thank you. We next move on to our next speaker, Aditya. Aditya is year 5 medical student at Nottingham University. His specialty and his interest in choosing the 4 medical universities you need to apply, which is a very, very important part of the application. You always need to apply based on your strength and weakness, and Aditya has personally helped many to in this aspect. So he's going to briefly talk about how do you choose your 4 medical universities. Okay, over to you, Aditya.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aditya. I'm a 5th-year medical student at the University of Nottingham, and I'm here to talk today about one of the most important yet often overlooked aspects of the admission cycle, which is how to select your 4 universities. So here we are now, 10th of September, getting close to the UCAS submission deadline. And by this point, you have everything now that you need when going forward with your application for medicine. You have your GCSEs, you've done your work experience, you've done your UCAT, and I'm sure you've got your predicted grades by now as well. And now it comes to one of the more challenging parts of the application process, which is choosing which 4 universities to apply to. And I wanted to talk today about how important it is to select those 4 universities based on your strengths. A lot of people go into this period thinking, I like this open day, I like this university, so I'll apply there. Or my friend went to this university, so why don't I also apply there as well? But I want to stress today about how important it is to select these universities based on your strengths and weaknesses. So, for example, some people may have very strong GCSEs and a slightly lower UCAT score. In this instance, it's really important to target universities that put more of an emphasis on high GCSEs. The best way to do this is by having a look on going to each university's website, having a look at their application admissions criteria. Some universities are much more open about what they're willing to give away in terms of what it is they're looking for. So some universities, for example, Leicester, clearly have a scoring process, which I believe is out of 64. So they give 32 points for GCSEs and 32 points for UCAT. So what you can essentially do is you can go onto their website and see, okay, this is what my UCAT is, this is what my GCSEs are, calculate your score, and then go the extra mile. Go have a look and see online if there's anywhere that says what was last year's cutoff for Leicester, for example. It's really, really important that you utilize the wealth and array of resources that are available to you online, because it's all there. It's just sometimes you need to do a bit of digging into these websites to have a look. That's why what I really, really recommend in these last few weeks leading up to the application process is sitting down with your parents, making a list of universities that you're interested in and categorize them. So have different tiers. So risky choices, safe choices, and in the middle choices as well. So if there's a university that you went to the open day, you really liked what you saw, you felt like you would belong at that university and have a great time there, but your stats don't necessarily match with what it is they're looking for, perhaps put one of those universities down. But it's really, really important to focus on what your strengths are, because at the end of the day, each medical school is brilliant in its own right. And that's why it's really, really important to make sure you're applying to the best universities for you, because that's the thing that I'm going to stress again, is that at the end of the day with medicine, it's not like other degrees. If you go to any university across the country, you obtain the same degree and you're put into the same process when applying for jobs. There is there is no benefit as such of applying to this university. I agree, for example, if you're more interested in going down the research route, perhaps, then maybe some London universities or Oxbridge might be more appealing to you. But for those of you who are set on a clinical career, you're all in the same pool when it comes to eventually applying to your foundation year jobs in your 5th year. So that's why it's really, really important to have a look at which 4 universities best suit what you're looking for. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. So it is currently the 10th of September. The preliminary UCAT deciles are due to be released in the next few days. So what you need to do is you need to be checking on the UCAT Consortium website. You need to be seeing what the deciles are saying, and you need to rank what you need to find out what your score is and rank that accordingly to where you are in that decile. It's also very helpful to look at previous year's admissions and seeing what is the trend, what is the cutoff. Is this something that if I apply, do I have a good chance of going to this university? Another really good tool is freedom of information requests. So what you can do is you can contact the universities directly and ask them, I would like to know what the cutoff score was for this university this year. And there's some, even though it may not be readily available on their website, some statistics and facts the universities are legally required to give you. So go that extra mile, go contact the admissions team. Some universities are very, very good. You can contact them, send them an email, they'll reply on the same day. Say, this is my stats, XYZ. Do you have a cutoff? What was the average score needed for interview? Go an extra mile and see how many applications do you have and how many interviews do you take from those applicants and how many offers are giving out. So the point I'm trying to stress here is it's really, really important to maximize your chances of getting that offer and ultimately going into taking your seat at medical school. So because of that, the most important thing to do is it's all about probability at the end of the day. The more interviews you have, the more chance you have of securing that offer and eventually taking up your seat. So yeah, so that's the first thing I'm going to cover, which is UCAT deciles, which is really, really important. And again, contacting admissions team, being in touch with them, speaking to people in older years as well. Ask them if you have friends or family who are studying at different universities, contact them, ask them what is it that they're looking for, but also be wary that because everything's changing on a year-by-year basis. So just because you have a friend who's perhaps studying at university, the whole application process might have changed. So my sister's now applying to university, and it's completely changed from 5 years ago. So some universities are similar in what they're looking for. Some have completely changed what it is. So keep up to date, utilize the websites available. All the information you need is readily available to you, but you need to go and do that and have a look at admissions, having a look at what the admissions team are specifically looking for. Some universities, off the top of my head, Sheffield, Leicester, Manchester, Nottingham, these are universities which are generally very open in what they're looking for. They clearly state if you have XYZ, you will get an interview. So that also will provide you with a bit of a sense of confidence as well. You don't need to be worrying too much about, will I get an interview here? Will I not? It's something that's really important to consider. Even finer details like SJT banding is something that's really, really important. Some universities will value you having a band 1 extremely highly. Some universities might value band 1 and 2 as the same. Have a look. If you have band 1 and a slightly lower UCAT score, apply to those universities that value the fact that you have a band 1. Play to your strengths. Everybody applying to medicine is exceptionally smart in their own way. It's just about being very specific about what it is that you have and how you can offer value to that university. And each university, although they say, yes, we look for GCSEs, we look for UCATs, at the end of the day, everyone will have slightly different requirements, which is really, really important. So it's really important to fine tune what it is that you're looking for. So my main advice is in these next few weeks is drawing up a list of perhaps 9 to 10 possible universities. Make a list of them. Make a list of the pros and cons. Is this a risky choice? Is it a safe choice? Categorize it. I'm sure there's people who are very, very set on applying to certain universities, and that's good. That's good in its own right. Everybody has aspirations of going to a certain university. Me, myself, I really, really wanted to go to Nottingham. My stats were suited to Nottingham, but it was more of a slightly risky choice. So what I did personally was, yes, I applied to Nottingham, but then I applied to 3 universities. I applied to 3 universities where I was almost certain of getting an offer, an interview from, because I had done that background research. So by the time I sent my UCAS application off in October, I was completely confident. That stress was gone. I look, okay, I've hit XYZ, I've hit what they're looking for. So now I just need to sit back and wait for them to invite me to interview, because I'd done my prior research. I see so many people over the years with excellent GCSEs, excellent UCAT. It's really unfortunate because they're misguided. They don't have that advice and guidance, and they end up applying to universities that don't suit their strengths, and ultimately only end up getting perhaps 1 interview or perhaps no interviews at all. Don't make that mistake. Be proactive. Make sure you're researching. Make sure you're making lists. It seems like you've done all the hard work. You've done all the hard work to get to where you are right now. It's the last stage in terms of this application process, but it has to be fine-tuned. It has to be really, really meticulously chosen and selected to make sure you're maximizing your complete best potential of ending up at medical school 1 year from now. So that's why it's really, really important to sit down, navigate through, categorize them. Like I said, sit down, have a look, and be strategic at the end of the day. That's the main thing here, is being strategic. Yes, there are going to be certain other things. Perhaps you want to go to university within a 1 hour radius of where you live. That's all extremely important. I completely agree, especially from a family point of view. They're going to want you close by. But it is really important that at the same time, you're being very proactive and you're making sure you're applying for what's best for you. There's still time now before the application deadline. There's still open days going on now. Go to the open days if you haven't gone already. Take that extra step. Yes, it might be a weekend. You might think, I've done my UCAT. I just want to just get on with A-levels. Yes, A-levels are the most important thing when it comes to this whole application process. But don't neglect and don't forget to spend that extra little time just making sure that these universities, like me, and they're going to accept what it is that you're looking for. So just to reiterate, categorizing universities, take a list of 10 universities, maybe even 10 to 15 universities, rank them safe, medium, and risky. Choose a maximum of 1 risky university. If there's a university you're set on going for, but you know is not very inclined, not very navigated towards what your strengths are, spend 1 university, apply to 1 of those universities, but make sure you're applying to ones that where there's more safety involved in them. So yeah, again, university websites, freedom of information requests, admissions teams are very open. You need to do a bit of digging, type in XYZ, so University of Liverpool medicine application process. Find out the admissions team. Be hesitant. Don't be hesitant. Be very proactive. Yes, you might feel I don't want to nag them. Send them email after email after email if it's what you believe. At the end of the day, this is your future. You need to take ownership of that and make sure you're bettering your chances of doing that. Go to open days, nag the older years, speak to the admissions team saying, this is what I want to know. Can you tell me this information or not? At the end of the day, you might feel, okay, I'm being a bit pushy. They might not give me this information. But if you don't ask, you're never going to know. And there's so much information on freedom of information requests already available. So after this meeting, I urge all of you to go onto the Freedom of Information Act and type in this medicine. So for example, Nottingham Medicine 2022 application statistics, and there'll be a clear list of how many interviews they have, how many offers they give from there, and what you can do with that. So yeah, so that's my main advice here. If anybody has any questions at all, please feel free to send me a message. Like I said, this is one area of the application process that I'm very passionate about, because I really believe that everybody has their strengths and everybody needs to apply to those strengths. And selecting those 4 universities is something that's so critical, so important. But like I mentioned at the beginning, it is very much often overlooked. So best of luck to everyone. I'm sure everybody this year will do amazing, and we're going to be hearing a lot about interviews and offers in the months to come. So yeah, best of luck.
Okay, thank you, Aditya. That was a very inspiring speech to, I'm sure, others will find it helpful. For people, who joined late, we have recorded this and we'll be posting the recorded on YouTube by tomorrow. Please do feedback to us. We will post the feedback form by tonight. and if you can send it back, it will be helpful for us to make it better next time. And many people have been asking us whether we do any personal support or do one-to-one. Yes, we do. And over the years, we have streamlined our process and make sure, what people are getting is a very valid advice. So what we advise to do is, contact our admin, Priya. She will allocate you to an appropriate person who can help you out with what you need. We do get all the information from our potential examiners and medical students, and we double check everything so that you get the best possible advice. So we still have about 10-15 minutes, and we'll go through all the questions you have posted. So if you still have any questions, please post it in the next couple of minutes time. Can I ask all the speakers to come over video to answer if you can, and then answer any questions. To start with, there's been a few questions. Yes, we can review the personal statements. Please contact our admin, Priya. Her phone number is on the chat box. The next question is for Abhi. How do unis use the personal statement? Do all universities specify this clearly on their admission page? Over to you, Abhi. And I ask all the speakers to, briefly speak for a minute or so.
Thank you for this question. So as I said, universities use it in different ways. So some universities clearly mention on their website, or if you ring them, they don't use it at all, or they might say it's part of the interview, or they might say they use it as a tiebreaker. So not all unis will explicitly say how they use it. You can obviously try and ring them and say, and ask the admissions teams how to use the personal statement. So it really depends on which universities you apply to. But it is your first opportunity to showcase yourself as an individual. So I'd still take your personal statement writing quite seriously.
Okay, thanks, Abhi. The next question, as the fifth choice will be an alternate career plan, how should we include that as part of the personal statement? Can I ask one of the examiners who wants to go first?
I can
Kali?
speak. I can speak.
Okay. Yes, Kali, and then Aditya.
Yeah, I think there are two related questions, actually. I saw the other one as well about, how they can manage different courses. Now, that's a tricky one. So I think when you apply for medicine, you are really committing yourself. You are determined to become a doctor. And that's what your personal statement is going to reflect. If you try to confuse it by trying, for example, if you're going to apply for somebody mentioned, that's not going to.
Sorry, Kali, we can't hear you properly.
Sorry. Now? Can you hear me now? Yeah. I was just saying, if your fifth choice is a totally unconnected subject like engineering or mathematics, your personal statement is not going to work. So you have to be committed in your personal statement, focusing on medicine. And your fifth choice has to be aligned to that. So, something like biomedical sciences or biology or even chemistry might work. But you can't go completely outside, and because then you will not do justice to your personal statement either for medicine or for your fifth choice. So, you can't do that. So you just have to commit yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Kali. Aditya, do you want to comment on it?
Just echoing the same thoughts. Your personal statement should be about your motivation to study medicine. Don't try and include anything. So usually people apply for biomedical sciences or something as their fifth choice. Don't sway away. Don't even add like a line or two saying, yes, I'm also interested in this. The personal statement should show your motivation and dedication to study medicine. So most of the time, to be honest, the fifth choice universities will know, they'll read your personal statement and know that you're applying for medicine and it's their fifth choice. And most likely they'll give you an offer anyway, to be honest. So I would not worry at all about the fifth choice.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to the next question. Do we need to only submit one personal statement or separate for each university? Who can answer that? Abhi?
I don't mind. So absolutely. So you only submit one personal statement, and as mentioned by the previous speakers before, So you'll submit one personal statement, and that goes to all of your universities, so all 5 choices. And on the basis of that, you'll get offers and interview calls.
Okay, thank you. Next question: what books do you recommend including in your personal statement? Should we avoid the common ones?
Any Atul Gawande book would be a good book. I think Being Mortal was the one I chose. But again, it comes back to the same thing. If you are going to put a book in your personal statement, make sure you know it inside and out, because at my Manchester interview, they asked me on it, and it was good because I hadn't read it for a while. I just thought, okay, let me just read through it the day before. Very, very important. If you put a book, they're not expecting you to recite the book, but have some understanding of it and make sure it's a book you actually enjoy reading. So that's one book I'd recommend. It's called Being Mortal by Atul Gawande.
Okay. I can
mean,
join as well.
Yes, you know, Atul Gawande, and there are similar very obvious books. But if you have read something else which is actually quite interesting and highlights what I call the human condition, such a book will also be very valid. So if you are a good reader and you have read different types of books which actually, talks about, as I said, about human nature, personality, a good character, whatever, then you can include that as well. So, there is no harm in doing it. So you'll become an interesting candidate if you are able to write something different, but it has to have that reflection on it. You'll have to say why that becomes important for you in this context. So that's the key.
Thank you. Senthil?
Yeah, sorry, my video is not working and I'm not an internet savvy guy. So you don't need to write about any book at all, because the important thing is once you go to medicine, you have to read lots and lots of textbooks. So, and also remember, if you're putting up, and especially those who have gone to Sheffield Open Day, which I've done when my son was going for play, the college tutor who was in charge, he said, any more guys who talk about Atul Gawande, and he was talking openly about it because everyone mentioned that. That doesn't mean you need to put another book's name. It's not mandatory. Like Kali was saying, it's just what you are doing with that book is very important. But also remember, once you do that, you will be spending another 300, 400 characters explaining why you have read that book and why. But then if you have other stuff where you can talk about your communication, leadership, multidisciplinary working, or one of the GMC attributes, just by mentioning a book, you may be not able to answer others and you'll be writing less, which is not good. So you just have to be very, very mindful. I'm finished.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric.
Okay, thank you. Let's skip to the, maybe I'll request less than 60 seconds so that we'll be able to answer all the questions. And Kali, please, if you want to stay, you are welcome. But, if you need to go, you're welcome to leave.
I can be here for 5 more minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So next question, will a medicine personal statement disadvantage for the 5th choice? Disadvantage you for the 5th choice? Do you want to put up your hand? Which speaker wants to go?
I can go again.
Okay, Sindhu.
See, once again, it depends, because remember, just going through A level to medicine is not the only road. There'll be other talks which Errol and team will be organizing. There are other ways. There is another thing called graduate entry medicine. So for a graduate entry medicine, there are certain specific subjects which you can do. And also certain universities, what they do is if you do a particular subject and you can be given some preference for that, but it will be a very, very complete. Already from A level to medicine is very competitive, but that from that degree course to that medicine course, which is 4 years, will be more competitive. So you need to look at what are the universities that's offering where it's not access course, it's more like, so therefore it will be very useful to choose an allied course. Or the other thing is, in certain MMIs, they will ask what's your 5th option and why. So the other 5th option, one sometimes I come across is nursing, pharmacy. So these are all allied. So you need to be strategic in doing it. But like Kali or Aditya said, you can't put engineering as the 5th option, because then it's unlikely they will be offered anything on the 5th option. So choose wisely. Yeah, I'm done now.
Okay, thank you. Next question is to Aditya. will 132 over 152 points be sufficient to secure an interview at Nottingham?
It's a good question. Again, the best place to go for this is Freedom of Information requests. I'm not too sure about specific cutoffs. Sounds like a very good score, but again, it needs to be a score. You need to compare that score relative to what the cutoff was last year. So it sounds like a good score, but I don't want to give any assurances. So I'd say go and do that research. Contact the Nottingham University admissions team. Ask them what was the cutoff for interview last year, and see if you get a response. That'd be my best advice for that.
Okay. Similar question. Someone had asked, which website did you mention for the freedom of information about each university?
So the Freedom of Information Act it's a website as a whole. So if you perhaps I can put a link in the group afterwards, but you just need to type in Freedom of Information Act and then type in name the university. So type in Nottingham Medicine 2022 application, Freedom of Information, and there should be a lot of information there. Somebody would have either asked the question before, or you need to ask that question, and I don't know the exact time, but I think it's within 28 days, they have a legal obligation to respond to your query. So definitely make use of Freedom of Information Act Freedom of Information Act.
Okay, thank you. And people are asking whether do we do any personal one-to-one support for personal statements and choosing universities? Yes, definitely we do. But as we said, we have streamlined everything. So we have so please contact admin Priya, and then she will advise you and then allocate a suitable tutor for you. The next question, what course do you recommend as a fifth choice? And can the person, so who wants to answer that?
I don't mind answering that one.
Okay.
As a fifth choice, I'd recommend any clinical course or anything within the healthcare field. So, for example, biomed, clinical sciences, psychology, chemistry, because that will still give you an opportunity to do graduate entry medicine. And when it's asked in the interview, okay, what is your fifth choice? You can also talk about your interest within the healthcare field as well. So you can remember that medicine is not just the actual medicine itself, but the wider associated fields.
Okay, thanks, Abhi. The next question, can the personal statement include passion in certain specialties, for example, pediatrics?
Absolutely. Any particular interest you have, showcase that. But again, just be prepared to demonstrate and interview why you have that passion. I think it's very good to have it's at this stage very good to have a particular niche interest that you have. But again, just be prepared to back it up. If they ask you an interview why pediatrics, be prepared to answer that. But definitely, if you have a specific interest, showcase that.
Okay. The next question is from a year 12 student. Glad to know, year 12 and younger students, very enthusiastic about their career. I've heard that there will not be a personal statement or a BMAT. Is this correct? And do you know what there might be instead of it?
I'm not too sure on that. The application process seems to change year on year these days. One thing I do know is that the personal statement is being used less and less as years go on, because universities are kind of aware that it is people they've realized that it's not a very good discriminant because it is quite a subjective thing. So more and more universities are using it less. For example, when I applied to Nottingham over 5 years ago now, they used to score the personal statement out of 16, and they've completely got rid of that. The only university I know now that still scores personal statements is Keele. They give a score out of 15. But in terms of the BMAT, I'm not too sure. I know Leeds have just this year changed to UCAT, so perhaps more universities are tending to lean more towards the UCAT route to make it more streamlined, but I can't give a definite answer on whether or not the BMAT will still be there next year or not.
Okay, thank you. Next question, is it mandatory to put a book in personal statement? Anyone else? Abhi?
I think Dr. Senthil Kumar Uncle already covered this. It's not mandatory at all. I did not reference any books in my personal statement. The reason why people talk about books is an opportunity to reflect. But if you've had the opportunity to see in-person experiences, then reflecting upon those is just as good as talking about a book. But please do not feel compelled to mention a book at all.
Agree. There is no mandatory thing that you have to mention about books. If you have other in-person work experience, like working in a care home or a charity shop, or even working in ASTA, that shows that you have to do multidisciplinary. And also, see, if you're manning the cash till, that shows that your integrity, your honesty, your trustworthiness. So wherever you work, whether it's for charity or paid work, you can showcase your skills. So if you're able to read some books, yes, but also please be prepared. They will ask questions, because one of my colleague, who was an examiner in Sheffield, and she's a psychiatrist like me, and somebody talked about motivational interviewing book by this particular guy, and as a psychiatrist we know, so when she asked, the candidate was not able to explain well. So you need to be very, very careful. You can't put fantastic names on books, but if it's a particular niche area for that particular examiner, and they will be asking you more questions, so basically the question is, you should not lie, and you can't put books for the sake of putting it, unless you know it by heart. So just be very careful, and there is no need to put a book at all. My son, who is doing fourth year medicine, he hasn't put any book name at all. So it's up to you. It's useful but not mandatory. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We need to finish in the next 10 minutes, so we will not be accepting any more questions, but we will answer whatever the questions has been posted in the chat box. The next one, if I apply to dentistry for my fifth choice with a medicine personal statement, would I be rejected immediately?
I believe so, yes. I think you can only apply, I think they come under the same category, medicine and dentistry. So I don't think you can apply to dentistry as your fifth. I'm pretty sure on that. And again, like, they'll see the medicine personal statement and they will reject anyway. So I don't think that's a wise move, to be honest.
Okay. So the next question, I have good GCSEs, all A stars, and an average UCAT. Maybe this is for you, Aditya. Can you suggest a few universities where I could have a good chance? We can have, we can offer one-to-one specifically based on you. So probably, as a general question, Aditya, what's your take on this question?
So, yeah, firstly, congratulations on the excellent GCSEs. But I think off the top of my head, the one university that screams out to me is Cardiff. They're the ones who have quite a high emphasis on GCSEs. Leicester have a 50-50 split between GCSEs and UCAT, so that could be a good option. Birmingham have a 40% split between 45% for UCAT, 40% for GCSEs, and 15% for contextual. So Birmingham could also be a good option. More and more universities are, admittedly, leaning towards the UCAT approach rather than looking at GCSEs. But I think Cardiff, Birmingham, and Leicester are ones off the top of my head where you can have a look. Liverpool as well would perhaps be an option to have a look at.
Okay, thank you. So if anyone wants to have... Sorry, Sandeep, go on.
Yeah, you need to check again. Nottingham, when we checked earlier, even if you have an average score in UCAT, if you have scored really well on two particular things, because Nottingham does individual UCAT. In the verbal reasoning, you will get double marks, so it's worth checking. The other one is Hull and York. So, but yeah, if you contact Priya, then you can have some one-to-one. You can explore all the options. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Senthil. The next question, do the achievements in my personal statement need to be from the past 2 years, or can that be anything before that?
So I'd like to say that you can talk about any achievements from what you can remember and reflect upon. So as long as you can remember them and reflect upon them and know what type of skills you've learned, there is no set criteria that it has to be within the last 2 years. So I talked about things from year 9 and year 8. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. The next question, my fifth choice university, should it be in the same as any of the 4 uni I selected for medicine?
No, it can be any university at all.
Okay.
However, I'd like to add, if you do that, it could play as an advantage because sometimes some universities offer transfer schemes, even though it can be quite rare to get onto the medical course. But if they see that you've applied to a clinical course, which is not medicine, then you might have chances of getting into medicine through the transfer scheme. But that's something you'll have to do further research on.
Okay, thank you. What if I have already submitted UCAS application? Is there any possibility to amend the university choices?
Yeah, absolutely. You need to speak to your school, whoever's in charge of the admissions team. The UCAS deadline is on the 16th of October, so you still have a long time before then. So you can definitely amend your university choices. Just speak to school, log into UCAS, and I'm sure there shouldn't be any issues with that at all.
Okay. So what is your thought about Scottish universities? Will I be in disadvantage if I apply for any Scottish universities? I suppose you're applying from England or Wales, I guess. If that's a question, who wants to answer it?
Well, I can. One of my close friends studies at St Andrews, and I wouldn't say at a disadvantage. They do prioritize home students in the same way UK universities do. I think it's best to do a little bit more research. Again, utilize the Freedom of Information Acts. Send a request saying, of the amount of applicants in 2022, how many were home students and how many were not home students? Disadvantage, no, but it is still worth doing that extra research and having a look, because they're not gonna admittedly say on the website, yes, we give more preference to people studying in Scotland, but you need to, it's all about the fine print at the end of the day. You need to go and do that extra research and find out what it exactly is that you need.
Okay. Final question. Someone has asked whether is there any separate group for students and parents applying next year for some sort of a peer support. We did used to have specifically year 12 or year 13 students, which was helpful for some. People can get connected and share information. We will try to do that again this year. But meanwhile, you can definitely post your queries in the medical uni group, and someone will be helping you. Thanks everyone. I hope it was interesting day. I know it's a Sunday evening. Everyone has to go back to work and to school tomorrow. We had a wealth of information shared today. But as we said earlier, we will be recording this and posting it by tomorrow so that you can recap any of the information you might have missed. So I finally call upon Priya, our admin, whom many of you might have been seeing her virtually. So probably it's an opportunity for you to see her. And if there is any query, please contact her. Over to you, Priya, to thank everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Hello, everyone. My name is Priya. I am the operations manager for Educate the World. As Dr. Anand mentioned, I've been in contact with many of you, and as you've seen my face on many virtual events that we have run. I want to thank all the speakers today, Abhi, Aditya, Dr. Sandal Kumar Uncle, and Dr. Varadarajan Uncle, for taking the time out of their busy schedule to talk in today's session. I hope you all found today's session very helpful and informative. Feel free to get in contact with myself if you have any queries or any wanting some support. My number is 07958913329, and I wish you all the best in your application and for your future. Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.